So hello everyone once again. I'm really happy to see you guys here. There are a lot of things we have to discuss today. But to begin with, I'll just give you a small, let's talk a little bit about how we are going to be interacting. Since this is a webinar, it will be difficult for us to talk to each other, but I'm still very keen that you guys put in your questions. If you have any questions, you need any clarification, please put it down in the question and answer segment, and we will take up the questions once we finish with our presentation. I also want you to interact with me by putting down either in the chat. Let's say chat. I would like you to be able to respond to some questions that I may have, and or raise your hands. I think that's the way we are going to talk to each other. All right. So welcome all, and let's talk a little bit about the topic today. Let me just share the screen with you. I think you'll be able to see it better. And because the presentation has a lot of work, some visuals that will interest you. And let me first finish with that. All right. So guys, today we are going to talk about the art of the portfolio. I'm sure many of you are either aspiring to get into the design course or an art course, and it is now mandatory in all the colleges to see the portfolio of the aspirants. Now, you will need to know why the portfolio. I'm sure you will also have some kind of an entrance test before that, but the portfolio is going to give the college an idea of what you are, what your interests are. Okay, so very, very important for you to know what this portfolio should contain. Also, at some point after you finish your studies, you'll have to make a portfolio of all the work that you studied, all the work that you put together while you were undergoing the design course, which needs to be presented to your. They will want to see. So portfolio is really very important for you for many, many years to come. Because as you go on either with your job or with your own employment, you need to collect together the work that you may be doing in the area of design and keep on progressing from there onwards. So let's see what we should be doing. First is, let's remember, what will you be taking away with you at the end of this webinar? First is, what is the purpose of a portfolio? I think all of us more or less know that a portfolio would be very important to showcase what you are capable of. What is your strength? What are you interested in? And what are the different skills and tools that you are aware of? I think very important. Similarly, when you come into when you apply for a design college, the college would really be wanting to know a little bit more about you with your skills, with your conceptual understanding, with what your strengths are. The next portion would be preparing the portfolio. What should you be doing in the portfolio? What will be contained in the portfolio? So we'll talk a little bit about that, because all of you are individuals. You are different from each other, and it is very important that your portfolio really reflects who you are. We don't want to look like clones. We don't want to look like the digital portfolio, which is up on the web screen every time, and they look so similar. It's very difficult to be able to stand out. And we are going to make sure that you do it differently. The third takeaway would be to create a personal statement. That's what comes about when we look at portfolios. I would be very keen. I have been a design educator for many years, almost 3 decades, and we really look out for people, individuals, aspirants, design learners like yourself, to see that different spark. Are you different? Are you unique? Are you an individual? You don't have to be the brightest or the smartest. No, that you will develop as you go along. But what is that uniqueness in you and that personal nuance, that typical, slightly personal spark that we'd like to see in you? So now let me take you to this. What is portfolio? There are many things a portfolio should be about. And let's begin from anything. So it's a story. It's a story about yourself, about your journey, about what you believe in. It will showcase different strengths and skills that you have. The strengths and skills should be represented in the portfolio to the level that it is. You don't have to be the best in anything. Whatever it is, you showcase that. It also should be a summary of a lot of work that you might have done. It may be some exposure you wanted to do. It may be your interest areas. You don't need to show every bit of photograph you've taken, but you might like to put together a selected collation of different photographs, which summarizes your experience of, let's say, photography, or your sketching, or your... Very important, very, very important would be the portfolio should show your journey. Now, all of us started with a journey of, what you were doing, how did your interest develop, and where are you intending to go? Of course, there'll be portions where you'll have many, many kinds of work, but somewhere it should start reflecting a little bit in some of your interest areas, which are stronger than the others. So make sure that your journey is visible in your portfolio. Of course, it has to show that you're learning. It isn't important how well it is done or in what best manner is it presented, but is it showing that when you started sketching, your sketching, though did have a very good theme, it started improving in the subsequent sketching. And I think that needs to really be presented well, because that is what people are looking at. They are looking at not only your sketching skills, but also your thinking skills. Did you start becoming better at thinking about some subject area? And I think that is very important. Also, your typical pathways. You are interested in some areas. Make sure it's a path you are showing, or a strong statement. If you are very passionate about something, or if something you're very sentimental about some areas, please show it, and show it in the way that you see it. It doesn't have to be over dramatic. It doesn't have to be very subtle. Okay, so a lot of these words mean very similar things, but your expression statement is all about you. Some of you may be very loud. Let it be. You are what you are. You might be quite shy and introverted with even some of the expressions you put up there. It does not matter. Let it be there to showcase who you are. And very important, learning growth. It has to show that you have grown from where you started. And hence, a portfolio cannot be developed in the last 2 months before you apply to a college. Make sure you start working on your portfolio perhaps 2 years before that, because I'm sure when you enter 11th, you more or less are going towards a creative field, or you are starting to explore that. So I think it's a good idea to start putting some work together at that time. Then when perhaps during the period when you have your vacations and longer period of breaks, that is the time you start working on it a little bit more. And of course, you all know that when you're in 12th, there'll be so many exams happening. It won't just be so easy for you to do everything at the last minute. Okay, guys, so be very, very smart about it. Do it a little a little earlier in the times that you have in your 11th or 12th. Okay, I just would like to do a quick few words from you, and we'll take on from there. But please feel free to write down few words or whatever you want to do. What would you like your portfolio to project? Suppose if you show your portfolio to somebody, what would you like that person to see you as? And I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Please write down in the chat box anything that you feel your project or your portfolio should be showcasing. Okay? And I'm going to read it once. I'll give it 2 minutes. It may be very simply, I want them to showcase my sketching skills. That's one. I want to showcase my visual ability through a camera lens. I'm great at noticing things in camera, so photography. Great. So you've got some examples. Now start writing what you think you want to showcase. Okay, I can see Mugdha has replied, but I'll wait for others also to put down some things. Okay. If you guys put in what you think, I think you're going to get an answer whether that's good enough or you want to put in some more. Okay, how about the rest? Come on, feel free. I think very important, you can check your own style over here. You can probably, you have doubts, talk about it over here, because let me tell you, almost all of you are in the similar boat. You have doubts, you have queries, put it here so that everybody learns from it. And every one of us at your stage had the same queries. So it's good for you to also put it down and clarify whether what you're doing is in the right path. So I can see that. So one more, I'm going to wait for 1 more minute. Okay, another question here. Yes, I'll be answering that too. So just hold on a bit. Wonderful. So I'm already getting 3 questions here. All right. So let me start answering them. Okay, so Mugdha is asking, what I would like to project in the portfolio is my development of style. That's very good, Mugdha. I am very sure you are already probably a little more developed, which means you're a little more mature in the visual aspect. So that's fantastic, because that's something a lot of colleges would really want to look at. And that means your growth or your development started long ago. You are starting to develop a style. And if that style is associated with you, that's great. However, as a designer, later on, I would like you to be open to different kinds of style, to learn a little more, to learn and appreciate other kinds of styles, and be able to produce it, because that is what your versatility should be as a designer. But it's fantastic if you have already started developing a style. Okay, so good, Mugdha, great to go. You are on the right path. And let me take the next question. Is this webinar relevant for graduates of a design degree, or is it primarily for design aspirants? Okay, I did start by saying that this may be for people who are wanting to apply to different colleges, but a lot of things that I will be shifting back and forth would be for people who, let's say, have already are finishing their design courses and are trying to apply for jobs. Many of the things apply to both the segments of learners. Very, very important, because your portfolio needs to be shaped depending on what kind of a job you are applying for. Similarly, when you are applying for design course, if you have certain already certain course in mind or certain stream in mind, you may work a little more towards it. For example, if you are more towards a product design, then very important that you try to showcase something done in material, whether it's a very basic shape or whether it's a skill product development or whether it's an idea for a product. Both would be very good for a student who's trying to get into a product design course. But if you are a communication design aspirant, then you really need to showcase things which may be to do with visual communication, graphic, anything to do with illustration or graphic ideas. So it applies to both these areas. I hope that works for you. Otherwise, at the end of the seminar, we can take up very specific questions also. Another question is by Ayushi Sen. I want to showcase my ability to solve real life products problems by my design. Fantastic, Ayushi. I can already see that you have a fairly good idea about what design does. A design course is there to help you become problem solvers as well as situation solvers, right? So it is everything around us is where we can apply design, whether it is to a product, whether it is to a communication problem, or whether it is to an experience problem. For example, if you have a product which needs to be better, has better ergonomics or backrest for a chair, that's a product problem. But if you have an experience problem, for example, children going to the park are not getting a good experience of greenery or not getting good experience of the garden feel, that's an experience problem. And Ayushi, those are also areas which are now becoming very important. So yes, you are quite right. I think it would be great if you can even summarize the kind of experience which is situational and experience based. It doesn't have to be series of drawings. It could be through videos. It could be through some kind of your video explaining things, etc. Okay, so a portfolio need not just be, let us say, only drawings and sketches. All right, another question is, I want to project the way I'm able to analyze different designs in depth and what each element represents in terms of the creator's intentions. What content can I include to show this? All right, so I would like to mention over here, for you to analyze design in depth will not happen before you join a course, because it's going to be then very common. Let me say that it's going to be sort of half-baked, half learned, and then a lot of it sounds jargonish, may not be structured, and that immediately gives away the inexperience of somebody who is on the path to become a designer. So yes, these are the aspirations, or this is what everybody is looking for, and that is what you will learn in a good design course. This is what you need to refine further as you get into the depth of design. So don't worry too much about wanting to showcase that, because that is not really required. I think in a situation where everybody's learning design, the situation created or the ecosystem created by the college, by the teachers, would so much be more condensed. It will be more directed, it will be guided, and you will learn a lot more in a shorter period of time. I think that is what we should look at. Okay, and there's a final question. I'll just showcase for you. I want my portfolio to show a story. Wonderful. I think this is such a simple way to say it, but exactly that is what I want you guys to be talking about, your story in your portfolio. All right, so let's move on to the video which is being, is it possible to, 1 minute? So in short, I'm sorry, why is this rushing ahead? And let me just show you this video, which is about sampler. It's a sampler of this young girl who's she's going to talk about all this, her experience, education, skills. This is a bit of both. She is already a designer who is showcasing her portfolio for a job, for a project, for somebody to showcase what she knows about specific subject areas such as animation, and also graphic work. So here you are going to see a lot of brochures and some covers that she's done, and her illustration style. You can see that this is so very much her persona. I mean, somebody who illustrates in a very specific manner. She also has great communication skills in the way she's made the layout. You will see that, you can see that it's a quick glimpse of what this is. But also she appears to be a very friendly person. She is very tuned into what is youth, what is young, what is current, what is that typical the millennial thoughts. A lot of that is visible in her design, in her pages. And so you can immediately see very, very strong illustration styles, but you also see different, you can see over here that these are different styles of illustration. So I think this is where we can see a showcase. She's showcasing her portfolio, and you in future will have to think of that too. All right, let's go to. So in a summary, your portfolio must talk a little bit about all these things I've stated over here. You can put in a cover letter. More than cover letter, it's like introducing yourself, and you tell it in a more colloquial manner. You want to be more formal, you can do that. You want to be more poetic also, that's fine, as long as it gets all the points across. And then you categorize your portfolio into visible skills, salient skills. Make sure you put in your interests, certainly. So your visible skills would be all about your illustration skills, your visual skills, your ideation skills, your technology skills, your model making or prototyping skills. If you have all that, put photographs of those things as well. Your salient skills is about your thinking process, your conceptualization process. How can you, through your mind, think of things which are very original perhaps, or perhaps more evolving, which means you take an idea and then you evolve the idea in many iterations. Visualization is taking an idea and making visual concepts of that. And so you see that all these skills are important in design and across many streams of design. Your personal interest is very important, because that is what perhaps you are aiming to do ultimately in the next 10 years. So please mention that. Even when you are taking interest, even if you're taking, let's say, admission in a college, any college that you go to, you must talk a little bit about it, because there are certain areas which because of your personality is going to fit in, and that is going to especially create interest to the people who are examining you. All right, so let's go to cover story. Your cover story should really be summarizing your personal story. It has to be impactful, because before let me tell you a story about a very well-known design studio. It's an international design studio situated in Gurgaon and Bangalore. Actually opened up its doors for internships, and thousands applied, literally thousands, at least hundreds. So if the space for, let's say, any admission or placement is only 10 seats, you can imagine your first appearance for the interviewers should be very impactful. It has to impress them, it has to make them want to open the pages to look at others. Similarly, if it was a digital portfolio, again, very, very impactful. Must really, I think that's where you should try to be original. And also keep it simple. There's, of course, there's some people have a style which is a lot, very visually, very, very busy, also sometimes chaotic. However, you can find beauty in chaos, but you will have to make the effort to do that. Just don't be a general chaotic person. So try to see what that means. I'm sure you'll also develop that ability sooner. Okay, what are the different contents? So you know that if you are coming into a creative field, these are 1, 2, 3, 4 are the contents of mainly visual communication or digital design. So UI UX design, you are very well aware, is uh, is a very much in demand program, much in demand for in the industry. Similarly, promotional design, which is about promoting or branding a company, is again a very important part of it. Publication design is print media. Print media, irrespective of digital taking over, is still quite a popular means of getting communication. So that is, so a lot of magazines, brochures, hoardings, layouts, all those things are still used across our country in quite a large manner. So create impactful groups in your portfolio. Make sure that you have divided your work over categories. It, for an aspirant, it may be sketching, painting, it may be photographs, it may be word infographics, it may be just doodling, it may be any of these categories that you understand as is. And try to put in things which go from simpler to more complex. Make sure that they cover at least some important skills and try to maintain the flow. Okay, again, this is a structure we are giving you, but you need to be sure that it doesn't really become chaotic in terms of its structure. So you can see over here some of these tangible skills, like you can see a sketch, you can see some clay work, you can see some embroidery, photography, again some clay work, again some little jewelry pieces that you can see over here. All these are important, whether you do minute detail work or you do bold material work. All of these are going to be very important. You can also put in any digital output. If you are very familiar with computers or some softwares, make sure that it's not just a very common digital output from Google. You need to make sure that you have done something to that digital painting or the form. You have put in your little input. Prototyping is making models. It's like saying you are going to, let's say you're going to make a box which opens in a particular way. You will have to, if you can make a prototype or a model of a box with paper or any other material, I think it'll be important to showcase the way you constructed the prototyping. Okay. All right. I see there are some questions and answers there. I'll just take it up quickly. Okay. Photograph. Okay. Very important. You can see this painting or the sketching has been placed on a black sheet. That immediately brings out the visual of the sketch. So you can photograph your work. Make sure your background is very clean, not chaotic. If you'd like to put a word or two that expresses it better, but always showcase your original work. As much as possible, if you actually can fit in that work into your portfolio, great. If not, make sure that it is not touched up by anything. It has to be the work the way you showcased it or the way you produced it. All right, so you have samples of sketching. It need not be a full face, it can be parts of a face. Similarly, even parts of an object. It can be an object in progress. Doesn't have to be beautifully finished, rendered, though, of course, that also may be there. So you can see from the last photograph to this photograph, these are different levels of skill. Of course, it may be somebody who does not have those skills. But do you notice that this person has really tried to arrange, or actually has selected a composition which has the material, which is clay pot, and you have the green leaves, and you have a little clay statue in front with the floor. So that also is very interesting, because we assume the person who sketched this really has an eye for different material. Similarly, in this visual also, it's a sketch, but very interesting visual material placed together. I would really think this is very, very interesting. It may not be the highest level of skills, but very interesting in my mind. Now you can see over here, the sketcher is obviously having good skills and is showcasing details. Perhaps this illustrator is already a graduate and is trying to get into a placement where he or she would be sketching such kind of products, or is aiming to get into such kind of a product company. So to place an original product next to it, the photograph of the product, and along with details of the product over there, I think it really showcases how your mind is so analytical. I think it's good to really showcase your work in comparison to the actual work, the actual product as is. So these are a lot of product drawings. I would assume that some of you have those skills, some of you may need to learn it. And so if you're really keen to become into the creative career, please go and start learning this either from your schools or from there are many offers by art teachers or coaching centers who help out. You can check out, you can work with them too to learn all this. Or you can put in a product and sketch around it. I think this is an interesting way to show the product. Similarly here, this person has put in sketches of the jewelry along with visuals which seem to have inspired her. So though this may have been done by a student who is already in a design school, but I would encourage people who are aspiring to come into the colleges also to follow this. Get an inspirational photo, look at the colors that are put there, and if you have a sketch of your trinket or a product, put it there. Now this is a prototyping, which means making a model or a sampler with material. So having visuals of that and adding the process and stepwise how it is constructed is really a good idea. Complex, but you can start with very simple products. All right. Some of these intangible skills are very important for every one of us because in future, we are not just going to become skilled material people or skilled visual sketchers or illustrators alone. We need to showcase our ability to think, to process, to be able to visualize and to imagine in our mind new ideas, new stories, to connect stories to experiences, and then to be able to take it further to solve a problem. Here you can see that this particular problem is about a product, and the product needs to be something new, needs to have certain easy production abilities, maybe new material. So to be able to draw on that, some of these, before this sketch gets made, the designer has probably gone through all the tangible, intangible skills on your left. So think of this as well. This is also very important. So guys, I would really encourage you to read up a lot, because in your interview, you will have to talk to the teachers about all these things. So it's not just your visual or manual skills which are important. Okay, some very quick, I'm just going to show you all the kinds of different sketches we have picked up from many places to showcase. These are different ways to do it. When you put them together in the portfolio, some of the samples, it could also be a little bit caricaturist. It doesn't have to be actual illustration. And some of them have developed styles, as one of our participant was talking about, and some more different styles. Of course, this again, let me tell you, if you're just beginning, this will take a little time to come. You will require a little more time to come to this style, but you will develop your own style. You don't have to be exactly like this. So other course, are you good at anything else besides the visual skills? All this, which I've stated some of them over here, poetry, coding, essay writing, you are good at maybe verbally communicating. Fantastic. You love traveling, or you have great observation while traveling, writing about it, cooking, wonderful. I think all the skills over here are what is everyday life all about. And being able to put it down in your portfolio, maybe through visuals, maybe through your video chat, maybe through some other sketching, putting it down in sketch forms. All these are going to help you. So don't worry about a very typical portfolio. These are portfolios which will make it unique, which will make it stand out, and this will give you an opportunity to talk to your teachers during the interview about your specific interest. Okay. So I was just mentioning, okay, so particularly this is a sketch. So if you're talking about a journey, well, you can sketch it and talk about it and then expand on it during your interviews. Or you can video record it and put it down as part of your portfolio. But if you are, and so this is a video, so where the video is talking about, how you are interested in cooking and what you do with it. And so the scope of portfolio is really limitless, and there is really no limitation about how you should be talking about it. So guys, this is how I do believe that this is going to be a never ending process. It's an ongoing process, and it helps you to look at how to think more deeply about who you are and who you would like to project yourself to be. All right. I'm going to take another question for you. The question is, if I go via the route of IGCSE's art and design and score well in component 1P, do I still have to submit a portfolio? If I do, can I submit the same portfolio to a college? Yes, yes, that's true. You can answer. You can show the same portfolio. However, during the period that you are, let's say you have breaks, I think you should add in these very personal touches. I do think the more, as you are nearing your period of giving interview at schools, what more have you done by then? I do think that's going to really add on, because your IGCSE, I think submissions happen quite early, and there's a gap of perhaps 3-4 months before you are answering all your interviews in different colleges. So would you have done something within that? I think it would be, and it would be done without the compulsion of this being for credits or for marks. So think about that. Would you have learned something new? Maybe you are knitting, maybe you've done some cooking, or maybe you've grown some tomatoes in your garden. Talk about that experience, and I think these are things which is going to really be of interest to people, colleges. All right, so guys, all right, I saw the questions. If there are any more questions, we'll look at it, but in the meanwhile, let me quickly, these are some of the questions which came to us earlier, and I'm going to just go into that. How can I build my portfolio? I think we talked about it. Future in interior design. I'll be very short. Interior design, though at the moment digital design and interior design both, let us say, are very, very in demand, popular, because we'll always be building new houses. Once you have new structures, you need new interiors. So yes, as far as I know about the industry, and my friends, my professional friends in the industry have been telling me that it has never been so good for design. So let us hope we as the youth brigade like yourselves will come up with really some really memorable designs in future. Are there any industry specific considerations I should keep in mind when building portfolio for a particular field or discipline? Certainly, you have to. If you are aiming to get into certain kind of industries, so for example, if you say you want to get into the UI UX industry, then you need to build a portfolio which is going to showcase your understanding of, first of all, digital design, graphic design, because graphic gets translated into user interface, and hence your ability to ideate, to have color combinations, to look at graphics, to look at communication through few words. So you need to show that. But user experience is being able to look at studying, researching, and putting it into sequence, your the ability to gauge the experience in any situation, right? So you all this you will get trained for that, but you need to put it down in your portfolio. So if you are applying for a UI UX job, if you are applying for, let's say, a illustrator's job, you need to showcase variety of styles in illustration that you can do. So yes, it has to be quite specific, especially at the placement level. Are there any resources or references you would recommend for portfolio building? Let your portfolio be very original. Let it be who you are. Pick up stationery and whatever from the shops around you. But all the ideas of what the content should be, I think we discussed that today. Look at what your interests and strengths are and try to build that in. Show it to your parents, show it to your friends, discuss it and improve on it every time further, and build in new ideas. Try to be different. Okay, guys, don't be too worried. It isn't about what level of skills you have. It is really about who you are. I think all of us, including our college, we are really looking for youngsters who have that spark, who have that independent thinking, who have that curiosity, and who have really worked at becoming a designer or are working towards becoming a designer. We'd really love to look at that. Yes. Is there a question? All right. There's one more question. Is traditional okay? Is it for should you be having traditional portfolio or digital? So there are, okay, this is for a purpose. If you have to send a portfolio to your to a faraway college or to another city, then of course it is required to be in a digital format. However, it's only which is the communicating the digital your work is one thing, but should the content be digital? Not at all. I think it is best, it is still best, though it is a digital age, it is still best for you to collate your portfolio with a variety of work. A lot of work, if they are hand done, will really be appreciated. I can still tell you, most colleges, whether nationally or globally, they all are looking for people who do work with hands. You know why? When you work with your hand, there is a neosynapses in your brain which gets triggered off because it has to coordinate your eye, your hand, and your mind, which means the neosynapses in your mind. And that is what makes a designer so agile with their thinking. If you can showcase a lot of hand skills within that portfolio through photographs, if you have worked with material, show your photographs of the material and the product. If you have made sketches, try to just photograph the sketches in its original form. Okay. If you've learned some digital skills, well and good, include that as well. But don't miss out the traditional way of working portfolio. Don't miss out on your sketches or color work or painting work, etc., etc. Those are very, very valued even now. Okay, guys. So don't think digital will impress people, because nowadays, let me tell you, digitally, we can't make out who's done what. So do start working on your traditional handmade portfolio. Okay, I am now going to move on to the next few slides. Okay, so I'm from Ecole Intuit Lab. We are situated in Delhi, and we'd really love to welcome you to our college to have a look at the students' work. We have some fantastic game design happening and visual communication happening, as well as interior design. So please do come by. If you want to talk to the teachers, you're most welcome. We'd love to help you out. If you are outstation, you may connect with us. By the way, these are our students who are in France on an experience trip, because our parent company is in France, situated in Paris. So that's also, well, I think if you talk to our counselors, they'll be able to tell you more about the trips and the experience. But I would think that as a designer, you should really aim to have experience across the globe. So Paris may be the first place you'll go to, but there are many places you should really aim to visit. North, south, east, west, anywhere. Okay, so many of our students they get exposure to international masters. This is one of them. Okay, here is our, yeah. So please note this down. Can you click this visual? Do connect with us. We will be happy to connect with you back. We'd just love to chat with you if you'd like to know more, but let me answer some more questions. No, sorry. Okay. So Ayman, what are you asking? Is it okay to use anime, manga style original art along with the others? Yes, Ayman, as long as you have learned it and you have a passion for it and you think there is something which is very strong as a story to tell, put it there. Yes, sometimes it doesn't look very original, because I also see a lot of manga, anime, they seem very similar, but you have to build an original story also, no? So you may have a style which is very typically anime, but then can you build a story around it? You tell your story, what that anime means. Why is it so important for you? Okay, so that is where that uniqueness will happen. Right, because you spend so much time learning to draw that, I think that's fine. Okay, let's look at another. I design graphics for my school social media. How do I show that in my portfolio? Can you, I guess when you post it or upload it, can you save those visuals? Can you also have your original graphic work along with how it looks when it is posted on the Instagram, right? So that way you are convincing the interviewer that this work was done by you. And then when it is on the Instagram or any other social media, you can take a click, maybe you can take a screenshot of that and showcase it. So these are all different ways to look at it. And perhaps when you tell the story of how you did it and how did you get why did you put those visuals over there? I think that is good enough to convince people. All right, another one, I'm making a portfolio for fashion communication. What all should I have? Okay, let me give you a little bit of an idea about fashion communication. So there is a general field called visual communication. Visual communication basically is an area of graphic design, which has now gone into many other modes, which also does UI, UX, which also goes into advertising and video making, video film making, etc. Perhaps animation, a little bit of animation. However, fashion communication gets a little limited only to the field of fashion. In the sense, visual communication gets applied to every industry, whether it's a transport company, whether it is a dental, a service company, whether it is a footwear manufacturing company or whether it's a grain company, all the companies need communication. And that is where visual communication designers get absorbed in any industry, any service industry, product industry. Fashion communication would really be using the same skills to cater or service the fashion industry, mainly clothing industry, clothing brands, retail brands, could be even fashion manufacturing. So it involves a little more of fashion aspects, such as you would have to learn a lot more about what fashion is, what kind of clothing you have, what kind of, how does the whole fashion cycle work, how does retail in fashion happen. You might have to learn a little bit more about what styling would mean, why consumers buy certain kind of fashion, when do they buy it, etc. They also probably would look at communication means writing about fashion, because fashion actually has a structure which is very typical to itself and is not as applicable in many other industries. So because of its very unique positioning, fashion communication would deal with perhaps all those things which are involved with fashion. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So, with portfolio, a little bit of understanding of what, so they'll certainly ask you what fashion brands are you aware of. So, are you as a consumer now interested in specific brands or specific styling of, or what certain specific clothing? If you do talk about it, do bring up certain visuals or ideas and have a conversation around it. Sometimes it's very smart of you if you actually put in some visual sketching, painting, or video over there, which can bring the conversation to the topic you want to talk about. Okay, so if you put it there, your interviewers are certainly going to ask you, and then the conversation can go around the topics you're really interested in. So that may be one way. So as you're interested in fashion, yes, bring in a little more aspect of fashion. Okay, I've started making my portfolio. I was told by my instructor to use Illustrator for my artwork and to avoid Procreate for digital design. I would like to know whether you are applying to learn design, or are you already a design student who is going to apply for a job? I don't have much to say about this. For if you're an aspiring design learner, let me tell you, using Illustrator, digital design as a Procreate is not necessary, because you will learn it there. See, you will learn softwares anytime, anywhere, before, after, and there'll be new softwares coming. You learn that also. So it's not really as important. If your portfolio showcases a very unique mind, an original thinker, a design thinker in your process, in your work, then you will be picked up to do that. And the company will teach you the software, because learning software is not a big deal. It doesn't really take you much time to learn softwares. So I would say at the moment, whether your instructor told you to use Illustrator for artwork or to do Procreate, if you're good at one of them, use that. If you're good at both of them, use both to just give a sampler of the work that you are doing. Okay. If there is a danger of, because Illustrator may be used in more companies or more service companies, that may be the reason your instructor might have advised you. But I think there's nothing wrong to put visuals of both as well. Okay. I want to pursue design field, but I have no skills. So directly jumping to entrance exam can become a fault. So how should I start taking steps? Should I start learning graphic motion to make portfolio also, so that I can make some money? Okay, dear. Don't worry about wanting to learn graphic design when you're going to learn graphic design in most graphic courses should really be teaching you how to ideate and come up with and help you to learn to visualize. We don't expect you to be a graphic designer at all, because what is being taught on the net to be a graphic designer is a very wraparound way of doing it. They want to quickly make you into a graphic designer by lifting things from here and there, and ultimately at some point there are hundreds of graphic designs which look the same. So try, if you are going to come into a proper course, please learn how to do that in the course. Don't try to learn it from the net. There are a lot of things which actually get wrapped around. I would advise you not to. But I know people have said, I earn money through that. Yes, there will always be companies who don't want to pay for design. They'll pay you very little, but you think you're earning good. If it makes you happy to do that, I won't stop you. But I would rather that you learn other skills, like being able to do sketching skills, etc. Okay, I would advise you, sorry, if I know the time is running out, but let me quickly tell you, if you'd like to call us and talk to us personally, if you're in Delhi, come and visit us. We'll talk to you personally and help you with this confusion. My advice is, don't go and learn softwares, don't go and learn how to draw, learn how to paint, learn how to make things, learn how to sketch with different material. You will do much, much better. And when you say you have no skills, because nobody, maybe you guys, I know nowadays schools don't teach you skills. They don't expect you to become something to work with hand. Everybody, all our schools want us to become engineers and IT guys. Unfortunately, that is stopping many of our progress. I mean, those of you who are creative should learn to work with hands. Spend your time doing that. There is nothing like I have no skills. Start it and you will realize if the skill will develop alongside. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. Another question, some important things to remember for design graduates to build to launch themselves in the field. Very important, have some clarity on which pathway you want to follow, which pathway to follow after you have finished your course. Be sure about having some better expertise in that segment than the others, because you obviously need to have some better interest and better strengths in one segment than the other, and that is why you're applying for it. Your portfolio must consist of few major projects done in that segment. Let us say graphic design, or let us say digital product, which is UI UX, or let us say game design. So if you are aiming for that, or animation, so showcase more work in that, showcase more variety of work in that segment. Very important. And definitely include something which may be beyond your classwork. For example, did you participate in any competition? Did you send entries for it? Did you work in your free time for, let us say, an NGO for whom you produce some more work? So it is no more important nowadays for people to only showcase the curriculum in the portfolio. Please work on something beyond your curriculum, and that will really catch the eye of the interviewer. Okay, so take out time to do that. And it may be working during your break, it may be evenings you are doing something, it may be that you have developed something for your friend. So simple small things like that, it's going to really make your portfolio different from others. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the last question. And as I said, if you still have more questions, you're most welcome to call on this number, write to us, and come and meet us if you're here. I'm passionate about fashion design, but I'm considering visual communication because it's more future-proof. I'm stuck in this dilemma. What should I do? So I would advise you, don't worry about this. You prepare for both. But I'll tell you, fashion design does not mean that you have to do fashion sketches. You will be good in fashion, even if you're able to draw plainly. Anything that you see, you can paint. So you don't have to prepare anything differently. I would say I'm happy to get any student who is well informed, who is reading a lot, is completely tuned into what is happening in the world around them, has their own opinion as well. You should have an opinion about what is happening around you and about your work. Make sure you try to have a more repertoire, a collection of things which are different. But yes, one of that could be a little bit more. So don't worry too much about getting into a specific field if it is troubling you right now. Okay, make sure you do general work. Don't do specific fashion design work. Don't do specific only graphic work. No, general sketching, painting, photography, reading, reading poetry, cooking, experiencing, noting it down, traveling, current affairs, having an opinion, right or wrong. Please brush that up. Very important for us to have students who are agile on their feet, who know what's happening in the world. Okay, so I'm going to end this here. Thank you for being here. I loved your questions. We can take many, many more in future. But all the best to you. If you need more help, connect with us. You can come and show us your portfolio. We'll be happy to give a feedback to you. And there are many workshops we are holding. One of them will be on portfolio building, and we can inform you of when that will happen. We will be in touch with you. So good night and bye-bye.